stepping in
spectacular,
as well.
over the top. I mean, that was a full force shot to the temple. I mean, he's right now. So they wipe off his gloves, but you look at him like he's really feeling it right now. I mean, he probably has no idea where he is.
Time when I'm going to take your soul and you're either going to give up or you're going to get knocked out. And unless you have that instinct, you just will never be a good fighter.
It's likely that one big shot's going to land if the guy's not throwing other shots. So I thought with less artillery in the air, less bombs in the air, that the guy would have a chance to get to later rounds.
Joe Rogan laughs while reacting to Jake Paul's knockout loss with Anthony Joshua, saying the fight was unfair from the very beginning. He explains that Jake usually fights retired boxers or MMA fighters, not a Real Olympic champion. Rogan points out that Joshua is a top-level heavyweight and much bigger than Jake. From a real boxing point of view, he says the ending was clear before the fight even started, and the result was exactly what everyone expected.
Boy. Well, realistically, it's one of the craziest propositions of all time. You take a guy who just had a boxing match that looks like a sparring match with a 58-year-old Mike Tyson, and then you're going to fight one of the absolute scariest knockout artists in the heavyweight division.
After the fight, Anthony Joshua made a bold statement, saying the knockout actually helped Jake Paul. He explained that if the fight had gone on, he would have worn Jake down both mentally and physically. Joshua said ending it early stopped Jake from taking even more damage in the ring.
Fighting's not just physical, it's psychological. And when you understand the psychological warfare, I did say to you that, Jake, what's going to happen? I'm going to see a time when I'm going to take your soul and you're either going to give up or you're going to get knocked out. And unless you have that instinct, you just will never be a good fighter.
Linking Anthony Joshua to a so-called circus fight with Jake Paul has split opinions in boxing. Many people see it as a show, not a real sport, because the size, skill, and experience gap is too big to ignore. Joshua is a two-time heavyweight champion and an Olympic gold winner, while Jake Paul is still learning boxing. The fight feels more like entertainment made for views, not a true challenge, which is why critics call it a circus. After Joshua knocks out Jake and breaks his jaw, Simon Jordan strongly reacts, saying the whole event hurts boxing's credibility.
The boxing industry, because straight after the fight, I heard the question being posed to Joshua, will he now fight Fury? And then my first thought was, after what I've seen, who cares? After that, who cares if Joshua fights Fury? I like Anthony Joshua immensely, Spencer. Any exchanges I've had with him, I think he comes across terrifically well. But I fail to see where it's taken us, where it's taken him, other than hugely increasing his bank balance. You know, I really fail to see what this has done.
Well, it's done nothing, but he was going to fight in November, like I said, and he's just gone in there against Jake Paul. What has it done for his legacy? Absolutely zero. But it was, he's earned a lot of money doing that. And he's going to go again and he's going to fight possibly February, March, and then there's that Tyson Fury fight that's looming that could happen in September, whether Tyson Fury decides to come out of retirement or not come out of retirement. For Anthony Joshua, he's earned a hell of a lot of money. This is prize fighting, and that's what it's all about. And that's what he's done, and he's built a new audience as well.
He says these kinds of fights mix sport with show and pull attention away from real competition. Jordan points out that Joshua has already made huge money and built his legacy, so he doesn't need gimmick fights. Even if a fight with Tyson Fury never happens, Jordan says Joshua is rich enough that walking away from boxing would make sense.
Paul earning more than Joshua. That apart, Spencer, 6 rounds to get Paul out of there. Reputationally, how does it leave AJ?
Well, thankfully it didn't go to points, because I think that would have been a disaster for Anthony Joshua. I think that he needed to get the job done inside the distance, and he done it. Look, he could have done it at any given point. I think that he could have cut the ring off whenever he wanted to and got Jake Paul out of there. He took his time on that. He allowed Jake Paul to run around like a rabbit and throw the occasional shot from time to time. And I think he only landed one clean punch, didn't he, Anthony Joshua? And that was the one that broke his jaw in 2 places.
But, I mean, you said, did you not, to us in this very studio the other day, he's got to get him out of there in round 1.
I did.
Otherwise, what are we seeing?
Exactly that. And I think what we saw there was a little bit of entertainment. And that was pretty much it, but not not entertainment that many people enjoyed, if I'm honest. I think that people wanted to see a demolition job. We didn't see that.
Joe Rogan praises Anthony Joshua for his speed, athletic ability, and powerful punches. He says Joshua moves like a lighter fighter but still has the power to end a fight with one punch. Rogan calls him a scary opponent because he can close the gap fast and finish fights quickly. Because of this, Rogan says it's unrealistic for crossover fighters to compete with him seriously.
He's a very good boxer, but this is a giant Olympic gold medalist heavyweight. I mean, Anthony Joshua is fucking
He is the
terrifying.
thing that nightmares are made of.
And he's got that one-punch nuclear power. One punch. And he's fast.
Adam Booth gives an honest breakdown, saying Jake Paul did make Anthony Joshua miss a few times, which matters. He notes that Jake's movement and positioning looked better and forced Joshua to reset instead of landing freely. Booth is clear this doesn't mean Jake was winning, but making an elite heavyweight hesitate shows real progress. He adds that this takes training, timing, and confidence, and praises Jake's footwork and calm under pressure. Still, Booth says these moments didn't change the big picture, as Joshua's skill, power, and experience decided the fight once he found his opening.
We had Anthony Joshua and Jake Paul share the ring. Your takeaways from the 6 rounds that we saw, presuming you watched?
I was impressed with Jake Paul. I thought that, following on from what we're saying, right? A few years ago, he was on Disney as a kid, acting up, and has decided to become a professional fighter. That takes balls, but he's obviously striving to be as good as he can be. You can see that in the way that he moves, the way that he is developed in how he's punching and performing. But to make a 2-time world heavyweight champion that's still live, AJ's still got something about him, to make him miss in such an accomplished manner. All right, so at times he was jumping out and running around, but there were times when he was well in range and still making AJ unable to land a clean, solid shot. He deserves a lot of respect for that. And then the shot that actually finished the fight, that broke his jaw quite badly, didn't put him out. That shot he threw with serious intention has put a lot of professional heavyweights to sleep. He didn't go to sleep. He actually finished on his knees, didn't he? Laughing and spitting blood out of his mouth. So, like they say, it's a special type of crazy and a special type of brave to do it. But I actually, hats off to him, because he showed that he's developing some accomplished little skills in there to look after himself. The size difference is always going to fatigue him.
I know everyone will come with the idea that, AJ should just go in there one round and smash him to bits, and that should be it. It was a big ring, right? Perhaps he could have cut the ring off a bit better, but would I be right in saying that regardless of skill level, if you forget about that with the 2 for a second, if someone is on the back foot and on their bike and doing what Jake was doing, it's difficult no matter who you are, no matter the kind of separation in skill level.
It's a big ring, and you've either got to run at him and look like a novice yourself, or just take your time and understand that he's going to slow down.
After the fight, attention turns to Logan Paul, who appears to threaten Anthony Joshua and talk about getting revenge for his brother. Logan shows interest in fighting Joshua, but experts quickly dismiss the idea as an even bigger mismatch than Jake's fight. They explain that Jake trains full-time with pro boxing coaches, while Logan does not have the same skill or dedication. Many say a Logan versus Joshua fight would be completely one-sided. Analysts also add that this would move from a show into something ridiculous, since even Jake showed basic boxing ability, while Logan is seen as far less prepared. Most agree such a fight would not be competitive and would only bring more criticism to boxing.
And Paul would be more of a mismatch than Jake Paul. You know what I mean? Because at least Jake Paul has taken boxing, or has trained with real boxing trainers and real boxes. Whereas Logan Paul, he did that exhibition with Floyd, and Floyd's a little guy. Not saying a little guy can't thump, because Floyd really gave him some 2 pieces with no sides, right? But at the same time, you take his friend, Floyd's friend, Anthony Joshua, and get hit by him and see what happens. The same thing. Probably worse, because I think Logan, he's a little taller than Jake. And because he's a little taller than Jake, he may think he's a little stronger than Jake, which I don't know which one's true or not. I don't think it makes a difference. But because he may feel that way, he may want to go in there and try to bang it out with AJ. And if that happens, it's going to be a lot quicker. See, that 6 rounds it took AJ to finally catch Jake. It took that way because Jake was on that bicycle, moving, being elusive, trying to come in and then come out. He tried to do a very poor man's Alexander Usyk, right? And it didn't work for him. Logan ain't going to do that. Logan's going to come in throwing punches and bunches like he did with Floyd, trying to get him in there and, do all this stuff. And what's going to happen as soon as AJ lines him up, sets his punch, he's going to hit Jake and he's going to break Jake down and he may break his jaw.
Sugashan O'Malley looks at the fight aftermath by focusing on Jake Paul's mindset. He says Jake's trash talk and confidence before the fight were misunderstood. According to Ali, Jake needed that mindset to prepare himself to face a 2-time Olympic champion. He explains that belief and self-talk are important when the odds are stacked against you. O'Malley adds that without this mental edge, Jake couldn't have handled the pressure at all. He says critics ignore how hard it is to fight someone as skilled as Joshua. Even though Jake lost clearly, Ali believes his approach showed respect for the challenge and the mental strength needed to face an elite heavyweight.
Up, got in the ring.
Jake was shooting double legs too.
Shooting double legs, nice
duck
ones,
unders.
with ankle picks, duck unders. But dude, God, I see so much people talking shit on the fight. Which, dude, what the fuck did they expect? Like Jake was hyping himself up, saying he's gonna win. Dude, that's self belief. He needed that to go in. He needed that to get himself into the ring. You know what I'm saying? He just needed that.
What do you think about the sticking that tongue out?
Dude, he's a showman. This is a fucking YouTuber that switched to pro boxing.
Yep.
And he's fighting Anthony fucking Joshua. He made $90 million. $7.5 million per minute. Nate Diaz says, that boy don't work hard enough. This girl in the UFC said, Jake Paul shot more double legs in boxing in a match than I did in my UFC career. Ryan Garcia said, he's a runner, he's a track star. Aljamain said, this is a clown show. Josh Hammond said, dude, it's like, what did they expect? They expect him to go in there and look like a clean fucking Floyd versus Manny Pacquiao. Two of the, you know what I mean? It's like, what the fuck?
You see the aftermath, like his jaw and everything? Fuck.
Jake Paul's broken jaw. Jake has to get wired shut for 7 days or something like that.
Yeah, like
Tim had
titanium
to do
plates.
7 weeks.
Yeah, Tim says that was the worst thing he's ever gone through.
7 weeks. Tim broke his jaw in Montana. Tried to go to the hospital. Hospital said the surgeon's out of town. So now he has to. So he's fucking goes like a week without even getting surgery. At least Jake was able to probably get it like next day, that same day. But it's like all the people hating on Jake. It's crazy. Connor said Jake is stupid and will be altered permanently from this bout. I look at it. It's inspiring seeing what he does because I know how much like he's putting in work. He's doing legitimate fight camps. He's doing sparring. He's doing rounds. He's eating. He's doing everything, and he's promoting the fight.
Teddy Atlas says his prediction that the fight would last a few rounds was based on real boxing reasons, not anything staged. He points to Joshua's long break, his last knockout loss, and the mental doubt that can follow. Atlas explains that these issues take time to fade, especially for a slow starter. He also says the bigger ring gave Jake Paul more space to move early. Atlas believes Jake had a real plan to use movement and stamina. But once the pressure grew, Jake reached a level he had never faced before. Joshua's pressure, Jake's muscular body tiring faster, and the intensity of top-level boxing caused Jake to run out of energy. Atlas firmly says the fight was real and decided by true boxing factors.
I thought it was going to go rounds. I wasn't sure if there was going to be a silent agreement. I wasn't sure there was going to be a sparring match agreement that will spar for a while. I wasn't sure. I was honest about it. That's why I said it's going to go rounds. I wasn't sure if there was an understanding that, we'll play a little bit and then we'll get a little more and, whatever. So that was part of it. But there was real parts. Say, that's the fixed part. That's the WWE part. That's where the people, and I'm with you. I get it if you want to think that. Here's why I picked rounds, and this is what I think I saw, and I know that in my mind I saw, was the fact is that a lot of people didn't think about 15 months off. And there was going to be some ruts. There was going to be some hesitation. There was going to be some time. You get knocked out by Dubois freaking 15 months ago. There were going to be ghosts in the attic. I don't care who you're fighting. You get in the ring again. It's going to take a minute to exercise those ghosts. The rust. You want to call it rust, whatever. It's going to take 5-6 rounds to get rid of the rust. But it's going to, the doubt, the self-doubt, the being in the ring for the first time with nothing in between after being knocked out. That was going to be a play. And then the size of the ring, 22 by 20. It's usually 20 to 20 is pretty usually around average. And it's 22 by 20. More room to elude, more room to move around, right? I thought maybe go in there with track shoes. He didn't go with track shoes.
Chris Algieri and Paulie Malignaggi give a tough but honest review of the fight, focusing on how badly it ended for Jake Paul. They say Jake took serious damage, including a broken jaw and lost teeth, but still didn't earn respect from boxing fans. Chris says fans weren't entertained because Jake didn't truly try to fight and would have earned more respect by going after it, even if he got knocked out sooner. He explains that fighters gain respect when they actually try to win. Paulie adds that Jake's hit-and-run style couldn't last, since constant movement tires the legs and only delays the ending. He also says Jake doesn't have the skills to move and box at the same time. As a beginner, Paulie says you can either fight hard or run, not both. Both agree that choosing to survive hurt Jake's reputation more than an early knockout would have.
Yeah, an Ngannou type fight. Yeah, Ngannou, he's got balls. Ngannou's got balls, man. He went out there and he tried to fight, he tried to win. Jake Paul didn't try to win at any point during the fight. He was just trying to survive. I think that's actually ultimately going to hurt him with boxing fans.
Yeah, what do you think, Paulie? I mean, you talked about the in and out kind of style, kind of hits and runs, and you said that A, it runs out your legs. He was exhausted a couple rounds into the fight, and B, it only saved him for so long.
He doesn't have the boxing skills to box on the move anyway. Once I saw the big ring, I knew he was going to run for his life. When you're that much of a novice, which obviously it's not even an insult to him, it's just lack of experience. But when you're that much of a novice, you either know how to run for your life or fight all out. You don't have that in between yet. You haven't developed enough of that in between boxing acumen to really pull that off. And so what ends up happening? You're either going to fight your ass off and you'll last a minute. Chris, you're being generous. Round 2, he would have got knocked down round 1 if he would have fought. But at least he would have fought. He would have got the respect of the people and more importantly, the boxing community instead of these clowns that follow him and are still defending him. Now what happens is you didn't get any respect as a fighter. You didn't get any respect as a fighter because you didn't try to fight at all. If he would have, I was watching that through 2-3 rounds. I'm thinking to myself, this guy would do this for 8 rounds if he can. If he can do this for 8 rounds, absolutely not fight at all, absolutely not engage a single time in 8 rounds, he will actually do this. And he'll do it shamelessly. And that's the problem. That's the problem. The shamelessness of his approach to the fight. You're gonna be a fighter, then don't make an ass out of the whole sport, out of the whole business, and out of yourself first and foremost. Because in the end, what happens? You got his jaw broke anyway. So what ends up happening? What's the worst that's going to happen? You're going to get hurt? You're going to get knocked out? You got hurt and you got knocked out anyway. But you just prolonged the inevitable, and you got no respect out of it now. Because nobody's respecting that kind of performance. Nobody's respecting a performance where you were totally content to steal money from everyone by running for your life for 8 rounds.
In the end, the result felt inevitable. On paper, it was a mismatch, and the fight showed that in the ring. Anthony Joshua's size, speed, and one-punch power made the difference. Jake Paul did show some improvement, courage, and defensive skills, but he's still not ready to match an elite Olympic heavyweight. The aftermath shows 2 sides: critics who see these crossover fights as circus shows that hurt boxing, and supporters who respect the mental courage it takes to face a real challenge. No matter the view, the expert's main point stays true: class, experience, and power win fights. That's it for today's video. Stay tuned. Until next.